do 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 funky fantasy. Do 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 the bowl. Do 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 Stratosaurus. Bum. It's the War of Nerds. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to yet another episode of the War of Nerds podcast. I am Nathan Helm, the Funky Fantasy Man.
I'm Alfred Muller. You might have heard my nickname, The Bull.
And I'm Ryan Morgan, also known as Stratosaurus.
And while we're starting this episode, I have to say, my corgi is over in the passenger seat looking at me with his tail going back and forth, because whenever I use my high voice, he thinks it's excitement time. But it's not. It's the War of Nerds podcast. Thank you, Ezra.
It is excitement time, though.
Absolutely exciting.
I'm ready and pumped up. Yeah, tonight is an exciting episode for all y'all who are listening to us. We are talking about the general overscape of the Batman universe, from the animated TV shows, Batman villains, the best Batmans, the best Jokers, the best whatever you can think of when it comes to the Batman universe. Tonight, it's DC Talk Time. So, for those of you who are comic book junkies or just Batman enthusiasts all around, we'll talk about the movies, which ones were better, etc., etc. It's an episode just full of Batman talk. So, with that being said, I do have a side note. We are putting together a Patreon, and we are going to have tiers eventually with exclusive members-only access to certain things like after-hour parties and Discord chats with us beautiful bearded nerdy hosts. I couldn't even think. My mouth hole didn't want to just like puppet me like Jeff Dunham, because apparently I can't speak tonight. So anyways, let's start with an easy question. We'll start with, what is your guys' favorite Batman movie or Batman series? Or, yeah, we'll start with the movies. So what's your favorite Batman movie? It can be an individual one, or you can go series-wise. And I'll let one of y'all take the floor first.
I'll go ahead and hit this because, again, like, I don't know why, but I go nostalgia. I like the new stuff that's come out, but the 90s Batman movie with Jack Nicklaus, just for me, that was my introduction to Batman, and that one sticks with me. It was dark. It had some interesting storyline to it, and one of my favorite scenes is the Joker trying to pull the long pistol out of his pants to shoot Batman's ship out of the sky. Just like silliness brought to life in comic book, but in a real live action movie. So that would, for me, is my favorite Batman movie.
Dude, Jack Nicholson really did a great job as the Joker.
Yeah.
How about you, Alfred?
It's tough. My favorite Batman movie, I'm torn between either, I think Michael Keaton played him twice, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
recently, and then with the Jack Nicholson movie.
Okay, and then Val Kilmer played him twice back to back. One of them played him back to back in the original Batman movies, and I can't ever
Val
remember
Kilmer.
if Val Kilmer played him back.
It was one Michael Keaton, two Val Kilmer, and then George Clooney.
Yes, okay. So I like the Michael Keaton one with the Joker. I think he played an amazing Batman. The Val Kilmer ones, I thought he played an amazing Batman too. So it's kind of tough for me to decide between those three. But then the Dark Knight series where Heath Ledger played the Joker, that's because of him. That's one of my favorite Batman movies. So it's kind of hard for me to pin down a favorite Batman movie. Those three plus Heath Ledger's version, it just I can't decide, and they're all tied for me.
That's okay.
That's an acceptable answer.
So I'm kind of in the same neck of the woods as you, Alfred. It's hard for me to pinpoint. I like individual movies that stick out to me with just the story and the acting, because there's a lot of people who actually don't like Christian Bale as Batman. And some people are just like, well, I don't like the fact that he does this with his voice. Like, okay, yeah, it's not a vocal modulator like Batman used in the comics and Green Arrow uses. Oliver Queen and Bruce Wayne were two big billionaires, that were consistent across the comics. They were the two big billionaires, like Tony Stark to Marvel. But honestly, I liked Christian Bale's portrayal of Batman because they went through with the whole Ra's al Ghul League of Shadows thing with Scarecrow. That Batman Begins movie was really good. But then you just think it can't get any better because Batman Begins was really good. Here comes Heath Ledger, and he really took the whole thing of what's it called when these people get really into their acting? There's a certain word for it.
Acting.
Method acting, yeah.
Method. Heath Ledger was a method actor. And mind you, the only other thing I'd seen Heath Ledger in up to that point in time was The Patriot with Mel
Oh.
Gibson.
He's one of my
A lot of
favorite
people-
actors.
Mhm.
Mel Gibson or Heath Ledger?
Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
Heath Ledger
Yeah.
was in that movie with Mel Gibson.
Hmm.
And a lot of people forget about that. But
10 Things I Hate About You was another good movie with him. The
Favorite
Knight's
movie of
Tale.
all time.
man, rest in peace. It's
Yeah.
really sad.
It was a
He
loss.
took his role. He took it so seriously that he would lock himself in a hotel room for days on end and literally look into the mirror and just be like, "You want to know how my father got the scars he did, or how I got them? Well, it's serious." And but he portrayed one of the best. There I go, phasing in and out again. I'm actually a wizard, so for those of you who are watching, I make myself disappear from time to time. Just like a magic trick. You want to see one? I'm gonna make that pencil disappear. The Dark Knight, just you saw Heath Ledger come in as the Joker. The first line, he's just like, what doesn't kill you simply makes you stranger. And then from that point on, this movie's going to be insane. And through, The Dark Knight's the best Batman movie out of the Christian Bale trilogy. Dark Knight Rises, really, honestly, as the movie as a whole, was pretty bad, really. It wasn't that
I
good.
agree.
Tom Hardy as Bane was one of the few things that saved the movie. The best portrayal of Bane, since what Ryan would tell you, the best is in Mr. Freeze. That version of Bane as a joke.
Hey, his transformation back to non-pumped up Bane is just amazing. I mean, CGI best ever made.
See, I'm not gonna lie. Look, I was a kid when that one came out with George Clooney, and I enjoyed it when I was growing up. But after I watched the other movies as I got older, I could see where it's so kitschy and silly, and
Mhm.
but it's still not bad. Like, I still have nostalgia for it, like you were saying, Ryan. But at the same time, I can understand, like, yeah, that's probably not the best Batman movie out.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
definitely the Batman and Robin one you're talking about with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Bane and all of those, it's very campy. All four of those ones out of the 90s were very 90s. Like that was their shtick, was to be very campy. And then the Dark Knight trilogy was very dark. And I really like the old school because of the nostalgia. But the new ones, I have to say, I was not a huge fan of Christian Bale as Batman, but the villains in all three of those movies were on
Yes.
point. Like the villains made those movies epic in that
I think
regard.
that-
Whereas the villains in the older ones still can't be, they didn't make it as much as Batman made it Batman's movie.
Yeah, and I think that's
Was
a
it
testament to DC. DC has always been a villain heavy or carrying franchise for me.
was it Val Kilmer that was Batman in the one with Penguin
Yeah,
in the
so
90s?
Yeah. Yes.
no, I messed it up. Keaton was twice. So he was
Okay.
with Joker and Penguin. And then in the third
Okay.
one,
Black
with
was
Riddler
it,
and Two-Face was Val
yeah.
Kilmer, and then George Clooney was
Okay,
in the
yeah.
fourth one, Batman and Robin, with
See,
Chris
I
O'Donnell.
couldn't I could never keep it straight too, because I love
I had to
Val
double check
Kilmer
myself.
and- yeah, Val Kilmer and Keaton, they both did such a great job that it's hard for me to distinguish which one had the two movies and which one had one.
Mhm.
Oh, Batman, you come to take Mr. Freeze away. I've gone to take both you and Robin out. Get back, Batman. Hey, Bariske, freeze you, Batman. Like, I loved Mr. Freeze. Like, he was all those 90s, like you were talking about, so campy, so ridiculous. It was like Mark Hamill as the trickster.
Mhm.
the original live action Trickster, and I think that was in, oh, when did he do that? I want to say either the Flash. I think he was in the '90s Flash. Yep, he was in the '90s Flash TV show. So if any of you guys haven't seen that, the guy who played the Flash played Barry Allen's father in the CW's DC Flash TV show. So that was pretty cool. And Mark Hamill came back and reprised his role as the Trickster. But as Batman animated shows go, I think we can all agree that the '80s Batman TV series, where Mark Hamill voiced the Joker, he's the best voiced Joker of all time, hands
Without a
down.
doubt. That
Hands
laugh
down.
is iconic. I think they even used Mark Hamill's laugh in The Dark Knight for Heath Ledger's laugh when he's hanging upside down by the rope. I don't know for certain, but I had heard a rumor that they used Mark Hamill's laugh at that point because it was so iconic.
Like that was the Mark Hamill laugh. The wow! Oh my gosh, Batman, you've come back to visit me again. How tricksy! Oh my, what will I do? Will I blow up something in Gotham?
The Joker is such. If you ever want to take a class in how to write an epic villain for your main character, build it after the Joker. Like you have almost the exact same backstory as your main character, and you twist it. You have an element where the hero overcame something or was faced with something and took a different direction, and the villain went the polar opposite, and that's what you have with Joker and Batman. And I love in several of either the animated or the Heath Ledger or even Jack Nicholson to some extent, you get this, you can't be you without me. We complete each other kind of feel. I'm as crazy as you are. You dress as a bat, I do this. But like you were just saying though, Nathan, like the what am I gonna do now? I want you to guess. I want you to think like I do. I want you to get to my level so we can have some fun. He's just a beautiful character that I think will exist
Yeah,
forever.
he's just insane, man. He'd be like, "What will we do tonight? Will I go to Gotham and blow up the tower?" Or will I send my mini minions into the Arkham Asylum? Batman, you have to choose. You must find out if you can outsmart me. The Joker, always here for you, Batman. And he would just go, "Oh, hello, Commissioner Gordon. Oh, you wondering what the Joker's doing back in town? Are you? Oh, come on. Buddy, Commissioner Gordon. I'll give you a little extra money." Like, oh my gosh. The animated Joker, man, like, I mean, it was the first one ever,
Yeah.
that I can think of or remember. So
Mhm.
everything that came after, besides the comic books, obviously,
Yeah.
everything that came after the animated show, something was inspired based on that version of the Joker. This in a purple suit with a green tie and this goofy green hair and makeup, gangster style, running through Gotham with all these crazy experiments and plans and just basically causing chaos. The Joker is one of the most dangerous Batman villains, if not the most dangerous Batman villain, besides Ra's al Ghul. But like Ra's al Ghul is kind of grand Justice League scale level villain.
Yeah.
So when I talk about just Batman villains, that it's just been Batman's problem for the most part, I would say the Joker is probably considered his biggest nemesis.
Oh, for sure.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Now, how do we
Yeah.
feel about Batman Beyond?
The one with Robert Pattinson.
No. It was the animated series where you have Old Man Bruce and Terry. I forget his last name, but
Oh,
and it's like
uh,
the futuristic Batman kind of thing, the slimmer
yeah.
version.
He had the Arkham Knight suit. He had the Kryptonite Batman suit to fight Superman, if I'm remembering
Yes,
correctly.
I think he had a suit. Definitely remember he had different suits to still, but that was like the first animated series. Not the first one because I had watched the '80s one on reruns and stuff and VHS and whatnot, but that was like the first Batman series that came out for me, and I thought it was so cool. Kind of brought Batman into a newer age. It didn't last very long, I don't think, maybe 4 or 5 seasons, uh, but I thought it was entertaining. I like the idea of Bruce Wayne being a grumpy old man that was still doing all the things he had done as a young bachelor, uh, and uh, the new suit having to refight Jokers, and how the Joker almost became a cult following, very literally in the show, because it takes what uh, Michael Keaton did to the Joker in the original movie, where he throws him off the clock tower and he dies. That was basically
Yep.
the same premise for that animated series. Is that Batman is the one they took, because he's always talking about, no, he was there, I killed him, kind of thing. Uh, and just seeing how Bruce dealt with that, and then seeing a younger Batman take the new reins.
They took the voice actor for the Batman and Batman Beyond, and he came as a live action Batman for the CW's crossover of Else, Elseworlds. So he
Oh,
had the actual Meko suit on because he had gotten his spine got broken by Superman, by
oh,
by Bizarro, actually, Dark Superman. So this version of Batman had a grudge against Superman. That was that version of Batman Beyond. So his was the Arkham Knight crypto suit. So this was the one that had the kryptonite in the suit built into the technology that gave him advanced cybernetic strength. And they showed that suit in the live action. So it was Kevin Conroy, I believe was his name. Kevin
mhm.
Conroy. He was the voice actor, and they brought him in live action. And it was
Wow.
super cool to see the Batman Beyond Arkham Knight crypto suit, and it was him still hating Superman so much, even though it wasn't Superman who actually did that to him.
Mhm.
That's cool.
Um, I don't like any of the new Batman movies. I think all the new DC movies are pretty much just a letdown, with the exceptions being the first Wonder Woman and the first Aquaman movie and the first Shazam movie. Those were all pretty acceptable to me, um,
I saw
as
Wonder
it
Woman.
goes.
I didn't see Shazam and I didn't see Aquaman. At that point, I was basically done with DC, just because
Yeah,
the movies were a letdown, and I was like, I don't feel like watching this anymore. Because Batman vs Superman, I thought was so. They tried to be something and they fell on their face, and I was like, I can't.
I will fight someone if they like that movie. Not actually. I wouldn't actually do that. But Doomsday was just completely
Mhm.
garbage in that movie.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And they tried to do too much, right? Now, the actual part of the movie that was good was Batman with the Arkham Knight suit fighting Superman. That was the coolest part of the entire movie. But that was the only cool part of the whole 2 hour and 50-minute long movie where they're like,
I
oh, gee,
actually
let's bring in Wonder Woman.
I didn't hate Ben Affleck as Batman in that one.
Uh,
Oh, I didn't
I
either.
actually, it's funny that you mentioned that because it was such a drama when they announced he was going to be the next Batman in those series. And I was one of the ones saying, hey, give him a shot. Because at first I was like, no, I can't see it. And then after a while, I was like, okay, I've watched a lot of his movies in the past. They're hit or miss, but I honestly think he can pull it off. And honestly, I think he did. And he was one of the redeeming qualities lately in the DC stuff. But one of my biggest issues with the newest DC stuff is it's just wildly inconsistent. Marvel found a formula that they went with for a while that was churning out really good movies that were both action packed, emotional, and they would hit you with these quips that would make you laughter throughout them. DC tried to find their own formula and it just never got off the ground. They would go dark and it would just fall flat because the story wasn't developed enough. They would try to be witty and it would just come off as not DC because it wasn't dark enough. And I think that's where it's just gone off the rails for them and they've never been able to recover. But because they're trying to be Marvel, they're building off of what they've done. They can't turn back and start over. But I think they're at the point where they have iconic superheroes. Reboot. Stop what you're doing. Start over again. How many different Supermans have we had? How many different Batmans? People keep coming back for those. But if you keep playing the same actors, the same story, and building off of something people already don't like, they're just going to continuously crash and burn. And that's
I
just my
actually,
opinion.
I think what they should do is do a live action Teen Titans traditional to the original cartoon
Hmm.
or comics. I don't know if there were Teen Titan comics. I imagine there were.
Hmm.
But the 90s to late 2000, early 2000s, late 90s Teen Titans animated shows do something like that where you're like, yeah, those superheroes exist. We'll eventually reboot them, but for now, we're gonna kind of take Marvel's idea of starting with almost no names or the lesser heroes and build from there. Because they didn't, they had Spider-Man several times through Fox, but they started with Hulk, Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, important characters to Marvel, but not like Spider-Man, not like the Fantastic Four after they fell flat, the X-Men after they fell flat. They took the leftovers and build from there. I think DC
Hmm.
should probably start doing that, saying, yes, Batman exists, Green Arrow exists, Superman exists, but we're going to take their sidekicks, their younger companions, and start there. And eventually we'll do like a major build to, okay, now Batman and Superman need to come in and help us because we can't take down X.
Hmm.
Uh, because I'm with you, Ryan. I think they are trying to build on very weak foundation, and it's coming across.
They would have done themselves a service and actually helped themselves out if they simply would have taken Grant Gustin, the actor for The Flash, Stephen Amell, the actor for Arrow, and
Hmm.
slapped them in the movies for the DC movies. Boom, you've already got your actors right there. The CW shows are over anyways. Taken Melissa Benoist, who played Supergirl and did a fine job.
Hmm.
Leave the woke garbage that they wanted to add in towards the end of the TV shows. No one likes political correctness in TV shows and movies. That's just a consensus among fans. Let the characters be what they're meant to be. Focus on the story and making it comic book accurate to please the people who are spending money on this and who have followed these characters for a long time. You've got great actors, people that were invested in them in the TV shows. As Batman goes, honestly, Ben Affleck wasn't bad. I didn't really have too many issues with him. Um, People are like, well, he's not Christian Bale or he's not blah blah. He's the older version of Bruce Wayne. The dude
Yep.
fought crime for 20 years and retired, and now he's coming back from retirement. That's that version of Bruce Wayne. So I'm like, you got to think, you have to have an open mind when accepting somebody who's going to fill a role. It'd be like if who's the guy? It'd be like if Michael B. Jordan was offered the role to play Blade, right? People
Hmm.
would probably be pretty pissed off at first because they're like, he's not Wesley Snipes. No, he's not. Wesley Snipes is like almost 70 years old though, so you have to have a little bit of an open mind.
Yep.
Michael B. Jordan as Blade would be bad,
Yeah.
like in the good way bad. I was gonna say something else afterwards, but it would be amazing.
Yeah.
They actually hired a guy. Have you seen any of like the Daredevil, Jessica Jones, or any of
Hmm.
those? All right, so the guy who played the bad guy in Luke Cage, he was
Mhm.
like the that's the guy who's playing Blade. He
Oh,
looks almost
Okay,
exactly like Wesley Snipes, almost
yeah.
exactly like him.
we could do an entire podcast on Luke Cage because I have some very strong feelings about that Marvel show, uh, both good and bad. And he was one of the bright
Yeah,
spots.
he
But
was good.
I agree. I think that they should have taken the DC show actors and given them the movie roles because that was Superman to me when it was Smallville. That was Green Arrow. That was the Flash and
Mhm.
Supergirl. I mean, what's that, Ryan?
I was just gonna kind of agree with you got both of you there, but Nathan especially. I think where DC and we're kind of getting off of Batman and going straight after DC, but it's what we do. Um, their shows are phenomenal. Gotham,
Yeah,
Arrow,
Gotham
Supergirl,
is
Flash, like
Flash. Yep.
DC nails their
Till the
shows.
end.
And that,
Till the
well,
very
yeah,
end.
I mean, again, it's just like we talked about in the anime episode, like things when the story's done, you quit beating the dead horse. But
Exactly.
um their movies just fail. And Marvel's the opposite. Their movies have been successful up until late, where they've kind of run out of the correct superheroes to draw people in. But their shows have always been like they're good parts, they're bad parts. They
Agents of Shield.
again,
I'll
but
argue
Agents
there.
of Shield went like 3 seasons too long. Like it got
Yeah.
on a train that I fell off. Like I stopped. I couldn't finish it because I loved where it was going, and then it went this way, and I was like, you lost me. So
War of
again,
Nerds episode on that.
yeah, the first 2 seasons of Agent of Shield, I was religiously watching. It slowly took me away when they started
Sure.
changing direction. So again, that's just
fair.
my personal opinion about how that show
Yeah.
went. Other people absolutely love it still, even through. But I do think DC's always been stronger TV, worse on
Yes, I will
movie,
agree.
and Marvel's always been stronger with the movies and weaker with their
Yep.
shows. But they both have the good and the bad mixed in there.
Yeah. I
Do
love
you remember?
season 1 of
Oh, sorry.
Daredevil. I
What's
love
that?
season 1 of Daredevil.
Oh, dude. Honestly, all 3 seasons of Daredevil were solid. That was the most solid show out of all of those Marvel spin-off shows, to be
I
When
really
they
honest.
like
brought
the
Punisher in,
cast.
yeah, Punisher was my favorite arc of that series.
Ooh. The Punisher TV show with Joe Berthnall did a really good job playing the
He did. I
Punisher.
didn't watch the TV show, but I loved him in the Daredevil show. Just the way that those two bounced off each other was great.
2 seasons of Punisher is worth it to watch if you get the chance. It's very, very good, and they didn't try to extend it. That was why they succeeded the way they did with Punisher. But as you said, Ryan, yes, Marvel has always been stronger on their movies, even when they had weaker movies. And DC, when they did DC TV shows, have always slapped ever since Smallville, honestly. And man, Smallville was so good.
It
But
really was.
again, with Smallville, they tried to extend it too long.
I think
My
so.
continuing question with Smallville was, why is Clark not flying until the last season of the show? I get it. His cousin, Kara, she was stronger. She was faster because she was, well, one, she was older, and two, she arrived first as an adult. So, well, she didn't arrive first, but point being, there was things in Smallville that you're just like, why did we wait this long? But the dude who played Michael Rosenblum, who played Lex Luthor, we're
Phenomenal.
Oh my
so
god.
off track on Batman right now. But the
That's
point
okay.
being is like,
He was an amazing Lex Luthor.
Absolutely.
he was probably honestly the best Lex Luthor
Mhm.
to ever play the role. And maybe other people have their favorites from like the old Christopher Reeves Superman
Yeah.
days, or even do you remember the guy who played Adam in Arrow? Um, his actor name is Brandon Routh. He played Ray Palmer, the Atom, in the CW's TV shows. He basically was like the DC's version of Iron Man, except he was a combination of like Ant-Man and Iron Man. So he played Superman in Superman Returns, and it was a really good Superman movie. But in the Crisis on Infinite Earths, they brought Brandon Routh as his version of Superman from a different world into
Wow.
to play, which was really cool. Tom Welling came in for a cameo as Clark Kent from Smallville,
Yeah, I
but
heard
he
about
had
that.
given up his powers.
Yeah, so
Yep,
he wasn't.
he was just
That was the
Clark.
one thing. That was the one thing that bothered me about Smallville 2 was that Tom Wellington's character of uh, Superman and Clark didn't want to be Superman. I felt like it was almost like a chore for him. It was something that he fought against,
Yeah,
and that kind of bothered me towards the end of the series. I'm like, dude, we're running on 8, 10 seasons of Smallville. That's 10 years in show. How about we kind of start to think, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna be Superman.
yeah. Maybe just wrap it up.
Yeah.
But as Batman goes, that was
Oh
basically
yeah,
their
Batman.
problem. Was yeah. Hey, listeners, did you realize this episode is actually sponsored by nothing? Because we have no sponsors, and there's probably a reason, because we ramble and go off topic like this. But now back to your regularly scheduled program. So, as it comes to Batman and the DC universe as a whole, it sounds bad, but it's over. honestly. I don't think they can fix it anymore. They don't have the fan base dedicated to it. The movies have just lost their momentum. James Gunn now has complete control of the entire DC universe. So that is a good thing. The dude did Guardians of the Galaxy. He did Peacemaker, which was a really fun show. As DC characters, John Cena nailed the role. And so when you get little fun things like that with a director as creative as James Gunn, you're wondering, are you going to get rid of Ezra Miller as the Flash? Because you could do us all a favor by removing him from that role.
Yes.
Because he's not Barry Allen. And I didn't
No.
watch the Flash movie, and I refused to. Like, they're like, Michael Keaton's back as Batman. As much as I love Michael Keaton, that should tell you something. I refuse to watch that movie because Ezra Miller makes me want to literally listen to nails drawn on a chalkboard. I can't stand his face. He's not Barry Allen. Anything about how he portrayed the character and just how they're talking about, like, Barry Allen's not even a part of Star Labs really yet. And like this, the way that they portrayed him as this like awkward, shy character. Barry is awkward, yeah, but he's intelligent. He's a CSI. He's extremely smart. And
he's outgoing too. Like he's smart mouth and witty too.
Yeah, and his kids too, like Bart Allen, like in Smallville, how like witty he was. Like I loved it. But the way they portrayed like just Ezra Miller, just he should have stuck with Fantastic Beasts and left the Flash to somebody else. Sorry, maybe it's me, maybe it's cruel. Any of you Ezra Miller people out there who are just, you're a supporter of him, that's fine. You can have it. That's yours.
If you're an Ezra Miller supporter, this is not the podcast for you.
No.
I'll go on record for that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, y'all. It's just a character as iconic as Barry Allen, which, yes, okay, I'm a Barry Allen fanboy. The Flash has always been my favorite DC character. Okay, and no, it's not because he's the most OP, because while he could phase his hand through Superman's heart and drop a shard of kryptonite in there, let's just remember, Barry Allen was always the one that Bruce Wayne wanted to call. In the comics, it wasn't Clark Kent, it wasn't Arrow, it was always the Flash for a really particular reason. He's reliable, he's got a pure heart, and he is basically can just solve anything. And he also likes to ruin the timeline from here and then now. So, time travel.
How did we feel about the original Justice League TV show with version of Batman?
I thought that was kind of one of the more fitting versions of Batman when you bring him into the fold of the Justice League, because it was more about he brought the money and the technology for them to use, and he was more of the backer, where he still was able to fight, but he was not the star of the battles, so to speak.
Yeah, I love the way they portrayed him, and like you said, I think even though he was still a useful member in what he did, he was still intelligent, still an investigator, still able to use his gadgets and gizmos to help, but the super powered individuals still kind of hogged the glory when it came to fighting the enemies.
Yeah. And honestly, I think they really could have added more about like Teen Titans, because that had a lot of promise. The Teen Titans show, one of the more like darker and more like relatable, like real world of like how these characters in our real life scenarios, it really portrays the real world. And you think about characters like Robin, who became part of the Teen Titans. Man, they really kind of just like dropped the ball on that, because we just didn't get as much Robin as we really needed.
Yeah, that first series was really good. Then they kind of went into a kiddie version of it, and kind of the stories got simpler and sillier. But like the original Teen Titans was dark. Like that whole arc where Robin thinks he's fighting Slade because Slade's still alive, and Raven and Starfire and all them are like, dude, there's no one here. You were beating the crap out of yourself. And it's like that was really, again, talking about anime in one of the previous episodes, like that's an emotional moment. And it's like building to those really dark moments and what the characters have to do to get over them. I agree, Nathan. They really could have gone somewhere with that.
And there's a good DC villain for you, Slade Wilson, Deathstroke. I mean, and they did a great job with him in Arrow. Manu Bennett nailed the role, and he was a fantastic. I mean, oh man, I love Deathstroke. Such a cool villain.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Arrow is my favorite DC hero, Green Arrow.
he's awesome, dude. You have failed this city. Like, tell me again. Like, you can arrest me. It's all right, Oliver. Like, I know who you are. What? Yeah, I know you're the Green Arrow. I'm not Oliver Queen. Are you John Diggle? What? How'd you know? Because I just know. Like, I love Arrow, dude. Like,
Mm.
Oliver Queen and Barry Allen, and it was always those guys never got as much love as like Batman and Superman. It was always Batman this, Superman that,
Mhm.
and people always slept on Flash and Arrow and Cyborg and some of the Teen Titans and some of just the off characters. And
Green Lantern's
but
one of my
as
top.
Batman goes,
Green Lantern's my favorite DC.
did you know that John Diggle is actually part of the Green Lantern Corps
No way.
Did not know that.
in the version of the comics? Yeah, John Diggle. They actually like teased that in the Arrow show. He was offered the ring, but he declined in that version of that world.
Wow.
But yeah, the Green Lantern Corps, the Spectre. You think of like Mr. Mxyzptlk, like so many cool DC characters. Like DC Universe is OP. As you know, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to this episode, it's turned from Batman, just a Batman episode, to kind of just a DC and a comics episode. So pardon us for kind of going off topic, but this is just what we do. We just like to have a natural, progressive conversation. So I mean, it all relates to each other. You know, comic book
If you're ever
characters,
wondering,
DC
we kind of
Universe.
just, what do you guys want to talk about tonight? I don't know. How about this? That sounds great. And then it goes into this.
But as long as you guys are having fun listening to it, that's all that matters.
Yes.
There was an arc in the comics with Batman and Ra's al Ghul, specifically Raja Ghul, Raja Ghul, however you pronounce it. I've heard it both ways, but um, there's literally cults out there who are just like, it's Roz, and then there's people like, it's Rage. Why in the same TV show have you pronounced it both ways then? Interesting. Guess y'all both don't really know. But there's an arc in the comics where Ra's al Ghul, the leader of the League of Shadows or League of Assassins, been called both. Raj literally wiped out the entire Justice League by himself. Batman, Flash, Superman, Arrow, everybody. He wiped them all out. And you know who one of the last people standing was? Batman. Batman and Barry Allen, two of the last people that were standing. They're like, what about Superman? No, actually, Superman's inherently weak when you think about his kryptonite. Literally, the dude, you could offer him a turkey sandwich and put some kryptonite dust in there and just be like, here you go, man. I made it just for you. It's actually from Lois. Oh, that's so kind of you. Thank you. Let me eat this turkey sandwich. Oh, oh man, he's choking on kryptonite dust. Somebody help him.
Take a
Too late.
page out of
He's
take a page out of the Underworld series, and make a kryptonite bullet, and all of a sudden guns can now harm Superman.
yeah. They this was something interesting where there's this facility full of scientists and the TV shows and the Arrowverse, and with Supergirl, they actually made this low light this red light opposite of the sun of Earth. It was the Krypton red sun that actually made them reverse them to being what they were on Krypton, which was no different than they would be just a normal person. So they were able to carve into them just like regular flesh. And so you take away the yellow sun and you put red light instead, like a red sun, you automatically turn them back to a freaking mortal state.
Mm-hmm.
And you could harvest their organs and anything else. So it was the kind of the thing with like Doomsday with what they did in the whole Batman Dawn of Justice crappy movie. Doomsday shoved the kryptonite shard sword into Superman. But they're like, yeah, he died. Oh, he didn't actually die. He was just away from the sun. And the minute that you put him back and revived him or whatever, like I don't know. The whole Dawn of Justice is just
Yeah, that's supposed to be one of the darkest moments in the DC comics when Superman actually dies, to the point where they had to retcon it because people were so distraught and upset. And you do it in a
yep.
half-cocked movie, and you're left with meh.
Yep.
There was no emotion whatsoever. They're like Lois is just like and Martha was just like Martha, Martha, Martha. Hey,
Your
oh
name's
wait, your
Martha.
mom's Martha too? Like y'all not seriously think about that, comic book
Yeah.
writers, when you were doing like a Martha Kent and Martha Wayne?
Oh, I'm
Really?
sure they did, but
Yeah, I
I
know.
don't think
It's
they
just
ever
ironically
foresaw someone saying, "Oh, that'll bring them together. Their moms have the same name," because that erases
yeah, for
every
sure.
problem we have between each other.
Martha. What do you think, Ryan? What do you think on the whole Martha? Martha.
I have no comment.
No comment. Is this on the record, sir? Is this on the
Yes,
record?
this is
Okay,
on
very
the
well.
record.
Because I am a Daily Planet reporter and I have to make sure that I do everything by the book. But as it goes for Batman, I do think he's a cherishable character. I'm just not Team Batman. I've never really thought of him as my favorite DC character, but it's the villains that always got me for Batman. That's what always made it so much fun to watch.
The
For me
Riddler.
personally, it's the villains.
So
Oh, dude, yes.
before we get into that, I want to throw us into a twist on the War of Nerds.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to give each of you a B villain from the Batman universe, and you have to
Yeah.
tell me why they finally kill Batman or how they're the one to succeed.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. All right. Okay.
So
Hit
if you
me.
guys want to throw me one as well, that's fine. But let's go, Alfred. I'm going to give you Clayface. Nathan, I'm going to give you the Mad Hatter, which is my favorite B villain.
Okay, you might have to give us a little reminders of these characters just so
Sure.
we can...
Clayface was the guy. He's very much like Sandman from Spider-Man. He was made of clay.
Okay.
Mad Hatter is a Riddler ripoff straight out of Alice in Wonderland. That is his shtick. He's from the Batman cartoons, the same one with the Mark Hamill Joker.
Okay.
So very like low key. They were never the ones to defeat it, but which one or how would they succeed in killing Batman where Joker fails?
Okay. So the Joker comes in, he's got this whole plan, but with the help of Commissioner Gordon, Batman, and Robin, the Joker is put behind bars because he was betrayed by the love of his life, Harley Quinn. Now, here comes along the Mad Hatter. His plan consists of the following: recruiting Clayface, recruiting the Trickster, and recruiting the entire Suicide Squad, going in and breaking Joker out of Arkham Asylum by planting different bombs and different toys, and also getting the toy maker out, which then allows you to make other different toys, placing them all around Gotham, and then threatening the entire Gotham police force with death to the entire city of Gotham, letting them know there are bombs tracked around the entire town, that there's hostages set up at all different places. All the while, the Mad Hatter is laughing his way to an early victory to destroy Batman and drawing him out by not only having Lois Lane under guard, but also having Batman's parents under guard. Oh, wait, no, Batman's parents are dead. Never mind, alternate universe. Hold on, rewind. Just Lois. No, not Lois. Superman. Good Lord. Batman doesn't have anybody that he loves. So, I would just
Alfred.
say the people of Gotham are... Yeah, there we go. Alfred or Lucius. I would say either one of them. And maybe even Robin. And so the Mad Hatter gives Batman a couple of different options. He's like, you can give yourself up and tell everybody who you are and allow me to publicly execute you, or you can allow the entire city of Gotham to die. And that's what I would say.
Okay.
Now you go ahead, Alfred. I have to mute myself really quick.
I think for Clayface to win, it would almost be like dumb luck, where Batman has fought either with the Joker or the Riddler or Penguin or Mr. Freeze or one of his big bad arch rivals, and he's exhausted. But Clayface then plans a mudslide kind of thing, so that when Batman goes to save them, the Batmobile gets covered in clay, but he's part of it because he can shapeshift and stuff. So as he's returning to the Batcave, uh, Batman's exhausted. He changes out of his suit and he's just sitting there relaxing. And Clayface comes up behind him and just smothers him until he can no longer breathe.
So kind of like a hidden assassination.
Yeah,
I like both of those. They're very Batman-esque dark ideas behind that. So
I mean, the Mad Hatter is just insane. He would just recruit people. That's what he would do. So
literally, yeah. So
he doesn't have any special powers or anything. He's not as good as the Joker. So the best way to do it is literally cause chaos and break everybody out of Arkham Asylum and recruit everybody that you can, and leave
absolutely.
Batman with the only choice that would defeat him.
okay. Are you familiar with Black Mask?
I am not, but I'll wing it. You got anything on Black Mask?
Yeah, let me see if I can find something.
Is at least how he operates.
Black Mask or Red Death.
Hmm.
Black
Red
Mask looks
Death
like
is a dark
ripoff
version of Batman.
Who's Red Skull? He almost looks like Red Skull.
Oh,
But he's
okay.
a mobster-like guy, a hand-to-hand combatant. Black
All right.
Mask is a supervillain appearing in comic books.
Here's my twist. We'll go off of Black Mask. I definitely think this would be almost a Dick Tracy vibe storyline where Batman's more so the detective version of Batman. He's looking for the Black Mask to stop his gangster-esque mobster style things and gets lured into a casino of such looking for him. And I think it would have to be something along the lines of him gambling with his life, similar to what Nathan said. Somebody else's life is on the line, and he has to literally gamble the odds. And this time, the odds are not in his favor. And Black Mask is there to just single shot, just done, very clean, not over the top, just very simple. The one thing that got you was a bullet, just like your parents.
That's also
Bullet.
poetic,
Bullet.
but it's very similar because like so many Batman escapes or survival is relying on his skills, but when you put it in fate or his ability to decide between himself and his loved ones, you've got a better chance of beating him. And most of the times when the Joker has done that or whatnot, I mean the what is it? The Killing Joke. That's one of the darkest Batman comics, and he loses a part of himself in the Robin that dies. So I mean, it's he survives and lucks out, but at what cost?
Yeah.
And that's kind
Right.
of Batman's main problem. A lot of the times is he may survive, but the cost is almost not worth paying. But he doesn't realize that till after the fact.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, literally, his superpower is he's rich.
Yeah.
Well, I think that was fun throwing three writers into a what if scenario. Of course, like we'd probably all pick the Joker in a good scenario for that, but that's the easy answer. We got to
No.
go with more difficult than that.
I like this one, especially because we were not familiar either any of us with those characters.
Yeah.
And I'm sure more of
No.
like another DC nerd would have better answers or be like, oh, that wouldn't happen. But I like
Yeah.
what we came up with. I think Ryan's yours was poetic. Nathan, yours was as complicated as a plan like that could get, but it would have to be something like that to beat Batman.
Hmm.
So I loved it.
Yeah,
And I think we
absolutely.
should do this too. Like for Marvel stuff, we should
Oh
do
yeah.
like this what if scenarios for like
Hmm.
that's I loved it. I loved it. But that's a perfect ending for this episode was this what if because
Yeah.
we're pretty much out of time for this time, folks. But our socials are underneath, so you know where to find us. You know where to do the thing. We want to thank you for joining us for this chaotic episode, as anything that involves Batman or the comics would be. Thanks for joining us. I've been Nathan.
Alfred Muller.
Ryan knows as Stratos Eros.
And until next time, do funky fantasy, the bold, Stratosaurus, it's the war of nerds. Till next time.